Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. The tax authority has issued the executive regulations for the value-added tax VAT law today. His Excellency, the chairman of the tax authority, confirmed that all preparations to apply the value-added tax on 16th of April, such as e-connection with concerned bodies and enhancing human cadres at the tax authority, are completed. According to what was stated in the official gazette, the first article of this decision stipulated that the provisions of the executive regulations of the value-added tax law should be enforced, while the second article of the decision stipulates that this decision shall be published in the official gazette and shall be enforced from the date of entry into force of the aforementioned value-added tax law. His Excellency pointed out that the value-added tax will generate approximately 1.5% of the GDP, as about 400 million Omani riyals will be collected annually when it is applied. The Ministry of Health announced that the total number of COVID-19 cases registered in the Sultanate reached 146,867, while the total number of deaths reached 1,608. The total recovered cases reached 136,429, which is 93% of the total recovery rate. The ministry indicated that the total number of inpatients reached 274, among which 87 are in the intensive care units. The Ministry of Health affirms the safety of the vaccines used in the Sultanate against COVID-19. It added that no serious side effects were recorded and that there is no difference in terms of effectiveness and safety. And choosing of these vaccines conducted by the specialized technical team that tested the vaccines from all aspects based on the studies published on prestigious scientific magazines and also the recommendations issued by the international organizations. The ministry called all targeted categories to take the vaccine as early as possible and not to pay attention to rumors and seek information from reliable official sources only. Anxiety, trouble sleeping, and depression are among the most common mental health problems faced by locals and expatriates in Oman due to the effects of the coronavirus has had on people's lives. A survey conducted by Sultan Qaboos University Hospital, 1,580 individuals, showed that 30% of participants from the 11 governorates of the country had these issues. A senior consultant in behavioral medicine at the hospital said that with the onset of the pandemic, they conducted a research study that generally concluded that frontline workers, such as doctors and nurses, are among the most vulnerable groups to these issues. He added that owing to the high numbers of admissions in hospitals, there were cases of frustration and psychological burnout among medical staff who had to work for longer hours due to the increase in the admission of patients who required medical attention. The Ministry of Social Development launched Sahala platform to provide travelers with all instructions and guidelines on institutional quarantine issued by the Ministry of Health. More details in the following report.
Within the ongoing efforts to achieve the highest level of safety and limit infection of COVID-19, the Ministry of Social Development, represented by the shelter and relief sector, in collaboration with E-Mushraf Company, launched an electronic platform called Sahala to facilitate the process of hotel reservation for passengers arriving in the Sultanate through airports and inform them of the quarantine procedures.
This platform is a result of our cooperation with the Relief and Shelter section. And then Sahala platform will make sure that all travelers coming to the country will be able to book hotels using our platform, and will make sure that an institutional quarantine is followed, and the platform will be updated with the hotels available, number of rooms available. And also, it's not only for travelers, even for authorities, like government entities will be able to monitor the process and the capacity of the institutional quarantine.
Sahala platform has been fully developed by national cadres of Musharraf Company to provide travelers with relevant information about the places available for institutional isolation and give them access to the instructions issued by the Ministry of Health. The platform also facilitates follow-up after isolation and provide data and reports on travelers to the relief and shelter sector.
The process is very easy for travelers coming to the country. There is a link online. They can register for the PCR test if they are coming through Muscat Airport or Salalah International Airport as well. So we're going to use the same link to allow passengers to register on Sahala platform. So basically, once they are done with the PCR registration, they will be asked also to register for an institutional quarantine, and the user experience will be the same or even much better now. They don't have to do external bookings with hotels.
It is worth mentioning that the number of passengers arriving to the Sultanate who have been subjected to institutional isolation reached more than 11,000, while the number of hotels and hotel apartments catering to the needs of institutional isolation has exceeded 480 in various governorates around the Sultanate. In addition, 33 private institutions have been allowed to have institutional isolation facilities on their premises, which are compatible with the precautionary health measures and procedures. Sahala platform is yet another coveted achievement made by the talented Omani youth to harness technology to provide innovative solutions in support of the efforts exerted to curb the spread of coronavirus. صالح بخلفان الرحبي, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
The National Defense College organized the annual symposium for strategic issues, which came under the theme Renewable Renaissance Towards Sustainable Efficiency. The symposium comes within the curriculum of the 8th course at the college. It focused on a number of pillars like analyzing the situation of the Sultanate's future economy and determining competitive advantages, in addition to analyzing policies and legislations in order to achieve decentralization in the governorate's management. It also discussed and analyzed the main challenges that face developing performance of the state administrative apparatus establishments. The activities of the event were presided over by Lieutenant General Abdullah bin Khamis al-Raisi, Chief of Staff of the Sultan's Armed Forces, Head of National Defense College Council. Still to come in our news bulletin. There aren't enough migrant workers available to cut the stems of the daffodils in the United Kingdom. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanates of Oman Television. Fighting between forces loyal to Yemen's internationally recognized government and Houthi rebels continued in Hajjah Governorate in the country's northwest. Government forces have claimed taking control of several villages from the Houthis in the area in recent days. Yesterday, they issued a statement saying that large areas were taken from the Houthis in the Abs district of Hajjah Governorate. The battles between government forces and Houthi rebels have intensified in recent days in the governorates of Ma'rib, Ta'az and Hajjah. The conflict in Yemen erupted nearly 6 years ago after the Houthis swept into the capital and seized much of the country's north. The stalemated war has killed around 130,000 people, including more than 12,000 civilians, pushed millions to the brink of famine and spawned one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. A field of golden daffodils dancing in the sunshine is one of the signs winter is ending and spring is on its way. But for flower farmers, a sight like this is not a welcome one. They want to cut the stems before the flowers emerge. There is just one problem. There aren't enough migrant workers available to cut them. The worker shortage has been compounded by two main factors. Most importantly, a lack of provision by the government to allow seasonal workers from the EU to enter to the UK. The global pandemic has also seen restrictions to global travel and will have dissuaded many migrant workers from making the trip. A particularly fast picker can earn up to £180 a day if they work hard. In theory, they get paid according to the amount they pick, but all the pickers are protected by the blanket or a blanket of the UK's national minimum wage. Small bunches of stems for home flowering daffodils typically sell for around £1, and the margins for producers and sellers are already tight. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main headlines once again. The executive regulations for the value-added tax law is issued and to be applied in April. And the number of COVID-19 patients in the Sultanate's hospitals and the intensive care units are on the increase, and the Ministry of Health affirms the safety of the vaccines used in the Sultanate. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. We would like to remind you once more time to keep following the precautionary measures of wearing face masks, washing hands, and keeping physical distance from each other. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night and stay safe.
انت بينك وبين دانا
خلاف فني فقط.
ترى ابوي مزوجني غصب عني، وهذه جريمه سمينها تزوير، احتيال، نصب، جد.
اسمي اماني مو دانا ماتت خلاص.
اسف، الحب اللي ما قدرت تاخذيه
ولا قدرت تاخذه من غيري.
انا وبنتي وانت بعد والبيت كله يخدمونها.
يعني انتهت التمثيليه بانسحاب البطل في الحلقه الاخيره.
فيصل مثل طارق، مجرد شغف الفن اللي يسكنك.
اساسا انا ما عم بفهم انت كيف بتعطي الحق لحالك انك تعاقبيني لمجرد اني بحب بابا وبدي دافع عنه؟ اذا كنت عم ناقشك لاني شايفتك غلطانه بكون عم عاقبك؟
نضال المشكلة اللي واجهتنا من 25 سنة نفسها لسه عم تواجهنا، ما في شيء تغير.
لك ريهام نحن اخوات وربينا سوا، شو بك؟ ليش هيك تغيرتي؟ شو صاير لك؟ مو انا اللي تغيرت، انت اللي تغيرتي. شو بدك؟
انا ما سرقت شيء، هذا حقي.
لا انت عم تقارن حالك بالحشي؟
عم تفضلي الغريب اللي ما صار لك تعرفيه يومين علينا. بس هذا ما له غريب، هذا ابي.